You know, earlier I talked about all this AEW backstage drama and everything, and the one thing that a lot of people were very critical about last night was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre deathmatch. You know, mainly being done to promote the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that's coming out tomorrow, as well as basically plug the sponsors so they can keep having sponsors like it show up and sponsor AEW every opportunity they get. But even before, and I said this in the video, even before the match happened, people saw the announcement by Jeff Jarrett, by AEW, the graphic, for it, and they're like, "Yeah, this doesn't sound good. This does not seem like it's going to sound good or live or even be good." Period. And it wasn't, because a lot of people compared it to, some of the cringy, cheesy, doesn't make, a bit of lick of sense, stuff that WWE has done. Some have compared it to the likes of the zombie lumberjack match they did during the Thunderdome era, during the feud between Damian Priest and The Miz. Some have compared it to RoboCop in WCW, or the Yeti in WCW. And, to them, it's like, this this does not belong. And this is not just AEW fans. This is not just straight up AEW fans. This is wrestling fans in general, hardcore, casual, you name it. And they've all basically said the same thing. Even those in the business, Hall of Famers and insiders, have all said the same thing, that this was not a good match, nor was the nor was it a good idea for them to follow through on, to basically make a reality. So honestly, honestly, all I can say is this: what do you expect? You know, what do you expect? Hold on, I do something here. But again, what did you expect? Huh? What did you expect when it came to this? I'm just saying. What did you expect? This is what happens when you basically, when you're someone like Tony Khan, who's a wrestling fan first and foremost, because let's be honest, that's what he is, more so than an owner, and you want to have all the exposure, or you want to have as much exposure and publicity given to your promotion to prove, hey, we fans could do just as good, if not a better job than those that have been in the business for years and decades when it comes to running a wrestling company and promoting it. You know, what did you expect when someone like him, you know, shields out and shields themselves, sells themselves out, if you will, shields themselves out, for the WBD, especially when the WBD says, yeah, we want to keep your show around, we want to keep your product going, we want to give you another show, for your talent, and more specifically for your number one guy that you brought in recently, CM Punk. We want to give you that show because we're invested. We're invested in what you do. And yet now, what you're seeing is the result of that. You're seeing Warner Brothers Discovery be more of the boss of AEW, more of the owners of All Elite Wrestling than Tony Khan himself. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I told Alex in the super chat that a death match, that the kind of death match we got last night between Jarrett and Hardy is just an example of the WBD being the real bosses of AEW and not Tony Khan, like he should be. So this is what happens. This is what you get when this happens. This is why Tony Khan should have waited. He should have waited, you know, to make any kind of agreement with the WBD. He should have said, "Look, I appreciate the idea for Collision, but let me wait until cooler heads prevail with Punk and the Elite and everything, and then we can go from there." That's what he should have done. He should have done something like that, because everybody feels that because he has not put his foot down, because he's so enamored with CM Punk, because he's such a mark for the Elite and everybody else, that you know, he's letting all this, all this nonsensical, non AEW, you know, um, you know, I produced atmosphere to be integrated into his company. And the fans that have been with this company since day one, the diehards, the drones, the casuals, you name it, they are all basically starting to see that this is not what it used to be. And that something has happened to make this change occur, and it's a change not for the better. And obviously, what they're noticing is that change happens to deal with the WBD. They're noticing that a lot of this is happening more so ever since Tony Khan made that deal with Warner Bros. Discovery and David Zaslav and Kathleen Finch and all of them. They're noticing that, and they're not appreciative of it. They don't like it, and they want it to stop. They do not want it on their television. They do not want it as part of their AEW wrestling or their AEW sports entertainment. They don't want that. It's like you could do certain things that are sports entertainment wise and make it, make it sensible, and if not, make it part of the storyline, work it into the storyline you're showcasing, and that's fine. But on the other hand, it's like no, this does not this is not what we came to see. This is not what we're supporting as an alternative to WWE, and that is why you're hearing people like Alex, hearing people like JD, Solomonster, Steve and Larson. You're hearing, like I said, those in the wrestling that have been in the wrestling business, from a Booker T to a Jim Cornette to an Eric Bischoff. You're hearing them more so than ever criticizing Tony Khan and the direction that AEW has now gone in. And you've been noticing the criticism, from them and others really rise up more so than it ever has, ever since, like I said, he's made this deal with the WBD. And he can make fun of himself and what people are saying about him being a pushover and everything, with the little appearance at the end of the MJF Adam Cole vignette, at Outback Steakhouse yesterday. And that's fine, but that's not going to erase the fact that when people see what they saw with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match and other things like with Shark Week and Sharky the mascot and everything, it's like, to them, it's, again, it's like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And again, it's obviously the result of the WBD basically being the owners and bosses of All Elite Wrestling than the actual owner and boss, Tony Khan. I mean, as soon as he made this deal with them, he pretty much signed over 90% of ownership to them. That is why, when you think about it, maybe, not because he's getting lazy, not because he's taking people for granted. Maybe it's because Warner Brothers Discovery is telling him, "Dad, don't announce matches until this time. We've noticed it works better. It works, just as good, if not better, over in the Connecticut side of things. So let's take a page out of the playbook and not do anything, not make any announcements until almost 2 weeks out or 2.5 weeks out and stuff. For all and for all we know, that could be what's going on. They could be the ones telling Tony Khan, don't make any announcements until almost 2.5 weeks out, or 3 weeks at the most. And it's like, a lot of fans know that that's not how Tony Khan usually would run things or do things. When it comes to booking events, booking matches, booking pay-per-views. So it's like they're noticing this. They're noticing this change. It's very reminiscing, very identical to what Vince McMahon used to do in WWE before he had to take his so-called retirement hiatus last year, and now his medical leave hiatus. They've noticed that when he was around, things would not be announced until almost 2 weeks, a week and a half, 2.5 weeks at most before the pay-per-view. And now they're starting to notice that trend happening here, and it doesn't, and they don't like it. It basically is not representative of the AEW they were promised. And now they're starting to notice that, and it's pissing them off. It's pissing them off without a doubt. But what do you guys think? What do you think? You know, about all this? Do you think ever since? Do you think it has? Do you think all this change in directive and booking and let's do the Texas Chainsaw, nonsense and everything? Do you think and Sharky the Shark Week mascot? Do you think this all has to do with the WBD being the real boss now, being and acting like the real bosses and owners of AEW? And do you think it also and do you think that also has to deal with I should say? Do you think that has to do with Tony Khan not booking matches when he should be booking them and setting things up like he used to when AEW first started in its first several years? I mean, even last year they weren't doing this stuff, and people know it. And I know it. So what are you guys' thoughts? What do you think's going on here? Do you think he should have waited on this deal with the WBD, make sure everything was clear, and everything with Punk and the Elite and all that? Or do you think maybe he just was too impatient to really want to stick it from a national worldwide level to WWE and say, hey, see, we're more superior than you. Hey, a wrestling fan can run a wrestling company better than you. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. But guys, give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear your take on this. Do you think, honestly, Warner Brothers Discovery is now it's basically being more of the owners and bosses of AEW than the actual owner and boss of AEW? Let me know. Because again, whether you want to agree with it or not, even last year we weren't noticing this, and now we're noticing it more ever since that deal was made. Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, and I will talk to y'all later. Take care. God bless.